This is Electrifying Mojo, Power 96, with Stevie Wonder and Mojo.
How you doing?
Stevie, how you doing? Stevie, first I want to start the interview off by saying that you are bigger than life, but yet, in spite of all of your success...
Not as big as Mojo.
No. Hey. You were bigger than Mojo before Mojo became Mojo. But in spite of all your success, you've been able to maintain your humanity and enhance that humanity. That's evidenced by your commitment to Martin Luther King's birthday becoming a national holiday, and I think that because of your efforts, that reality has come about. What I want to say is that also, as far as the issue in South Africa, apartheid, you were one of the first entertainers to come out and make a statement. How do you, when you write music also, you don't just write songs, you write statements about life. What goes on in the mind of Stevie Wonder?
Well, many things. Really, my writing comes either from an indirect experience or direct experience of my own life. And like the telephone ringing there. One moment.
This is Electrifying Mojo, Power 96 WHYT. Tonight we have Stevie Wonder, one of the most renowned entertainers in the world. Stevie, you're bigger than life, but yet, despite that fact, in spite of that fact, you've been able to maintain touch with your humanity. In fact, you've enhanced it. You were one of the first entertainers to speak out against apartheid in South Africa. And I think that they said that they were going to stop selling your albums over there in South Africa, but you said, hey, you have a commitment to man before you had a commitment to music or something like that. How did you get involved in that project?
Well, the involvement in South Africa really was by accident as far as the degree of what happened after me making a statement. When receiving the Oscar for I Just Called to Say I Love You, the actual involvement was by no imagination of the word, by accident. I've always been committed to fighting against the concept and the regime of apartheid, which I've known about for a few years, and through meeting Mary Makiba for the first time in 1977 when I went to Nigeria for the Festec Festival. It was the Festival of African Nations and other black peoples. She also made me aware of what was happening in South Africa. There was a person that I was corresponding with who was a phone operator in South Africa, and he would call me and as best as he could tell me some of the things that were happening at that time. Quite naturally, being on a very controlled environment as he was, being in the phone company, there was not a lot that he could say, but he did send letters to me and made me aware of the conditions. By reading a few years ago an article in Essence magazine about Nelson and Winnie Mandela, and knowing about the policies of the previous administration of Jimmy Carter and the current administration's policy of President Reagan, and the various things that had moved forward in the previous administration and those things that had done the opposite in the current administration made me aware of the policies that various countries took not to leave Great Britain out of us. So the very lackadaisical position that their Prime Minister has taken in recent years to the apartheid regime of South Africa. So I'm aware of the history of it, and somewhat from reading various books about it, made me again make a statement that I have made and will make for the rest of my life. Any oppressed people, denied because of their color or concept, religious belief, or culture, is wrong. As we talk about in the song that we did in the In Square Circle album, it's wrong. Apartheid is wrong. Like slavery was wrong, like the Holocaust is wrong, apartheid is wrong. All of it's wrong.
You were one of the first entertainers, well, I should say one of the few entertainers on a national scale to get involved in making Martin Luther King's birthday become a national holiday. And because of your efforts, I'm sure it probably would have happened maybe some years in the future, but because it has already happened, I think in large it's due to your involvement and your commitment, and you got committed earlier. What brought that about?
Well, being from Michigan, feeling the commitment of a gentleman who, outside of being a Taurus the Bull, is myself. Speaking of Congressman John Conyers of Michigan, he is really the originator of the bill. He was the first one in 1968 that proposed there be a national holiday for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he fought for many years for this to be so. Various years, some years it moving forward, then various years it being moved back for unfound reasons, it being moved back. But it was moved back, and ultimately, in all of this, and knowing that many of fellow Michiganders celebrated this holiday, even though it was not an official holiday, and eventually Michigan made a state holiday. Many people celebrating it unofficially throughout the country, and many people of all, again, different colors and cultures, celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King for being an American who believed and believed in the fabric of the basic principles of the Constitution, and of what the principles of that Constitution being based off of a lot of the religious beliefs of mankind throughout the world. I just felt that it was time for it to happen. So I remember mentioning to Miss Coretta Scott King, when we did a special benefit for her in early '80, but I really saw this. I imagined this parade, and in this parade, it would be a march basically to Washington, demanding for his birthday to become a national holiday. And it was around that time, late 79, 80, that I wrote Happy Birthday. And I imagined in the song all of this happening. And that's why probably the lyric embodied the spirit of it is going to be. It is it is here, it's happening, opposed to talking about someday. I just really believed that it was going to be a reality. So it is then that in 1980 that I announced to the media and press that we were going to have a march demanding for Dr. King's birthday to become a national holiday. And so in fact we did previously the following year.
During the making of the We Are the World video, I understand that you had some visitors from Africa who spoke to the group just before the song was recorded, and it created such an emotional, stir in the room that it just kind of like brought the house down. What did they say?
Basically, there were three people that came. Two people from Ethiopia and one from Tanzania, and basically they were saying the same thing. One spoke in Kiswahili from Tanzania, one spoke in Amharic from Ethiopia, and they were saying that they were very happy that the people were doing such a very beautiful thing for their country, for the continent of Africa. I can only say a couple words in Amharic, so I cannot translate to exactly what they said in Amharic to English, but that's basically what they were saying. They were very, very appreciative of the fact that all the various artists took their energy and their heart and participated in a drive to save the lives of millions of people that were starving, and it made them feel very, very happy. And the reason that I did that was because we had such a discussion about well, actually we're going to translate some words into Amharic and into Kiswahili, and there was a very minor confrontation that happened because the words that they had, I thought they were words, but they weren't really words saying anything. I mean, they were not words that spoken language, but the feeling of the words. The feeling of the words sounded good, but they weren't words saying anything about words that people would understand in either language of any other country. Mm-hmm. So I had someone to translate the basic vibe of We Are the World, We Are the Children into either Kiswahili or into Amharic. And some felt it was just too difficult. Mm-hmm. Some felt it was better just seeing it in English, and we just went back and forth on that. Mm-hmm. And there were various conversations, or in the beginning you'll see Mr. Gerloff was talking about his experience in Ethiopia and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I just felt really to bring it home, to get the people themselves that were closest, mm-hmm. that lived the conditions, that knew without question, that probably had to be gotten out of the country for the safety of their lives because of the change in government, say like in Ethiopia and in various parts of Ethiopia. So it was very good to hear someone from another part of the world, yes, speak of it, but I thought it was best to bring it home. So with the help of a gentleman who was with me, Mr. Abdullah Sumari, we got together the people mm-hmm. to come and visit.
The things that have been uppermost on your mind they've always been evidenced by songs that appear on your albums. For instance, back in 1981, when you recorded Master Blaster Jammin', there was a report that you had a meeting with Bob Marley at that time, and possibly that you were going to do a few concerts together. On the song Hotter Than July, the Master Blaster Jammin', you did make a few references to Bob Marley, which may have added fuel to that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was up to actually us very, very, very close to announcing the tour. That same tour that we were doing as fully promoting the passing of this bill, demanding for King's birthday to be a national holiday. That Bob Marley was going to be a part of that, and because of the fact that he did take ill, Mr. Gil Scott Heron was kind enough to come and join on the tour. Mm-hmm. So, Bob Marley is very close in all of our hearts. The lyric, content, and the spirit of positivity that he had in his music, and that still exists in his music, should and must and will carry many hearts forward to a positive tomorrow and live in a positive today. Because the song, I always think of a song, One Love, One Heart, let's get together and feel all right. Mm-hmm. That's a very, very, outside of being inspirational message, it's very true. I mean, it's again echoing the sentiments of we are the world and we are the children.
Let's talk about the album, The Woman in Red. When I first heard the song, I just called to say I love you. When I first heard it, I was listening to it, and I felt it seemed as if, like you'd been off the musical scene for some time at that point, and it seemed as if you were just saying, like, hey, I'm not ready to drop my final product yet, but I just want y'all to know that I'm still thinking about you, and I'm just calling to let you know that I still love you, and I'll be getting with you. What were you thinking about when you wrote that song?
Well, it's a funny thing. I wrote it. I wrote the beginnings of it. I have to be very specific because we're, as you probably know, in the process of a whole legal thing about I just called to say I love you. But I wrote it in '76 when I was finishing up Songs in the Key of Life, and I was in the back of the car going from my mother's house, and at various times I would write, just the beginnings of songs as we did with that. I had the chorus line, I just called to say I love you, I just called to say I care, I just called to say I love you, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And I had the melody and stuff, and I had the basic melody for the chorus, but nothing really complete. And this song had always been very special to me, but I always envisioned it being in a movie. And I just kept waiting out. There's another song also that I always imagined being in a movie that I've never put out yet either, which I wrote around the same time, a little before I just gotta say I love you. A song called You Will Know. And I would say in the period of 76 to 79, because I read also Overjoyed back in 79, at the beginnings of it anyway. Mm-hmm. And really, it was not it wasn't from a telephone call or anything like that. It was just, It was just a feeling. I think maybe because so much communication does happen for me over the phone, I'm sure that subliminally that has an effect And when I did write the words in April of '84, I really, from seeing the movie, I thought, well, it would be good for that movie because there's a scene where he's calling, trying to get to his wife, and he just, it's not any particular day or anything, he just wants to say, you know, I just got to say I love you. So it felt comfortable. But many times for me, in my personal life experience, you know, we're traveling a lot, and many times I find myself in the airport on Christmas Day, you know, going back and forth to visit my family in Jersey, and people out in California, and people in Detroit, and you know, you think, you know, that even though it is a holiday, every day of life really is a holiday. So the words "I love you," spoken any point in time to someone, no matter how far or near they might be, brings them as close to you as possible.
Steve, you've been to every city in the world.
No.
And every city that you've wanted to visit, you've been there. And if there were...
I'd like to go to Egypt, country. I'd like to go to Egypt someday. That's really a dream of mine. I wanted to go to Egypt. Unfortunately, when I say unfortunately, it was an unfortunate occasion, but I really had a great admiration for Sadat. And he and Julius Nyerere, who was previously president of Tanzania, to me, great people. Really.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
Egypt, but I'm sure someday I will do that.
Well, when you speak of the cities, say, that you have visited, how important is Detroit in the life of Stevie Wonder?
Well, Detroit is important because Detroit is in my hometown. I mean, hometown in the sense that I was not born in Detroit, but I was raised in Detroit. I was born in Saginaw, and a lot of people from Saginaw come to Detroit and vice versa. But Detroit's very, very important. This time coming here and knowing the recent situation that's happening between Dearborn and that whole thing, it's always amazing to me because I always say, when will people grow up? Will I live to see people grow up? Will I live to see a time where people talk about being, you know, being one, but outside of the spotlights, it's all just fake. So it's a very important thing, and objectively I can say that because I try to look at all the things that I either hear or see or, you know, hear about objectively, and there cannot be too much objectivity in racism, prejudice, no matter who it's from on either side. Because if it comes from because of someone else, and you're falling to the level of another person, but you can't do that. And one would say, well, it's easy for you to say you're Stevie Wonder, but I mean, if I cannot be affected by the pain of my brother and sister, then how can I expect to be affected by anything?
Stevie, you've always been an acute observer of beauty, of reality, and you've always been able to hum in on things.
Catch a Detroit cold, right?
Yeah. You've been able to hum in on subjects that a lot of people just look over and take for granted. I think probably, you know, in my view, you know, as a disc jockey that's been doing it for quite some time. One of the most beautiful projects that I've ever heard was your Secret Life of Plants.
Really?
I thought it was a great album, and I think it still is a great album. When you were making The Secret Life of Plants, what were your motivating reasons for pursuing a project like that?
Well, the actual book was an interesting book. The film was a documentary film, but I felt that the whole concept of dealing with the physical, mental, and emotional relations between man and plants was a challenge within itself, and I wanted to try to write some music for it. So I wrote a theme song.
This is Electrifying Mojo, Power 96, with Stevie Wonder.